All right. Well, I'm ready to get started because there's a lot to cover, and I want to have some time for questions at the end. It's only 30 minutes. 30 minutes go by so fast. So I hope we get to make it all the way till the end. If you joined this morning session, welcome back. I hope that you glean some valuable tips. And if not, at least, get your brain working on some ideas, on some thoughts of how you can implement some of the AI tools that we mentioned. And with that, if you're not there, what we covered was basically the AI landscape, a short AI glossary, prompting basics, and then some prompting frameworks. And in this session, what I want to get straight into, because there's a lot to cover, but again, like I said, there's not going to be enough time to go really deep into each one of those concepts. But I want to go over a few fundamentals of revenue generation and then AI in action with a few real-world applications, especially when it comes to automations, and then give some room for questions. So when it comes to business's main revenue generation channels, I would boil it down to four main ways in which a business would drive revenue. And that is sales, marketing, customer retention, and then operational efficiency. Now, today, I'm not going to touch on the last two. We're going to focus more on the sales and marketing. I do have a workshop. Actually, someone asked me after the first session if I have workshops where I go more in depth in any of those questions, any of those tips and questions and any of that. Yes, I do. I was going to leave that for this session and I can tell you more about it. But basically in the AI for Business workshop that I lead every few months, we go way more in depth in any of those. It's also broken up in 4 different workshops. So it's not just one and try to cover everything in one because it can be a lot. I hope you didn't feel overwhelmed if you were part of the first one because I try to really keep it as simple as possible. But at the same time, it's a lot of information to cover. So first up, as I mentioned, we have sales because if you have a business, if you're in business, that's probably because you either have a product or a service to sell to your ideal customer. Now, let me ask you, when it comes to sales, and you can just raise your hand or just spit it out there, what are some of the biggest challenges that you face to drive sales? Anyone wants to just give it an answer? No, wrong answer?
Getting my product in front of people.
That's a good one, yes. Anyone else? Generating leads, yep. Yeah. Right, yes. So definitely anywhere from the right leads to closing the deals to just being present and being visible on the map it can be a challenge when it comes to sales. Now, if you're a large corporation or a large organization, most likely you already have a tool that you're using for several things when it comes to sales, and that's lead scoring and lead forecasting, and those are tools such as HubSpot and Salesforce and LeadSpace and High Level and Infer. Those are great tools to use, but they also cost some money, right? If you're just starting a business, if you're a new business, if you're just trying to get your head wrapped around how can I generate leads without having to pay an arm and a leg on some of those tools, you probably don't even have the capital yet to invest in some of this. That's where I like to help a lot of the small businesses when I work with them is if we are to do a lot of this as a manual labor, because it does take a lot of manual work, is there a way in which we can automate some of that process so that we can actually spend more time on things that are more enjoyable? Now, one way to automate that, and this is something that I like to share right off the bat, LinkedIn is a great profile, a great platform if you're a business to be on. Now, that also involves that you have something to say. You have something useful. You have some type of industry insight or maybe knowledge insight or product launch or anything that's thought leadership that you can embed into a post that could drive some leads, that assuming that your customer profile lives on LinkedIn. That could apply to Facebook if that's where your customer profile is, Instagram, anywhere where you can reach them in a way that can generate a good number of impressions and some response, right? Once you gain that engagement, and then once you have a good number of impressions, which, going back to LinkedIn, the algorithm changes all the time, so that can be a fun way to constantly evolve with it. I like to use Bardeen, and Bardeen, just like, for example, Zapier or Make, which we're going to cover, is a way to automate some of the processes that involve with, for example, you have this amazing post, you have a lot of comments, and now you like to do something with those comments. One way to do that is respond to each comment or go to each one of those people's profiles and try to engage with them in their DM, all of that, right? But if you want to take it a step further where you can actually use an automation, this automation, what it does, it will scrape all those LinkedIn profiles. It will connect it to Apollo.io, which basically it's a resource to get the name, the email, the number for that person. And this is public information that it will scrape from. Then you can export it to a Google spreadsheet. And then from that Google spreadsheet, you can analyze it with a tool like ChatGPT to see exactly what is the potential prospect score that you can give to this one person. And then even create content or create a response or something that is very much customizable based on that person's interest to your post or based on that person's profile. So really quick, I'm going to show you how I would run this. And this is going to be a little bit of show and tell. So for example, if I were on LinkedIn and I had this whatever post, to engage Bardeen, it's basically a Chrome extension that it's installed. And I have a few audiobooks and playbooks that I already created. It's going to take a minute based on the internet. Okay, there we go. So in this one example, I'm using this one, which what it does, the one that I just explained, is it will scrape LinkedIn comments, get email addresses, and then add them to a Google spreadsheet. And from there, I'll see what I'll do with them. There's a few more steps. But I'll take this and I'm going to try to run it here. Okay, this you can go to any LinkedIn profile that they give you this option, and then this gets engaged. So this is where it starts working. All right, it's gonna take a minute. The scraping is starting. Okay. As I said, it will get some contact information from Apollo.io, and then it's gonna take this to a spreadsheet. Okay, so how do we know that it took it to the spreadsheet? It's gonna show you that it put it in there. You can view that, and there you have it. You have the LinkedIn profile, you have the email, you have their title and their full name. And then from this, I would take this spreadsheet and actually input it into ChatGPT and ask it which one of those, or Perplexity or whatever tool you want to use, which one of those contacts here or potential contacts, potential prospects are the ones that I should engage with. This is one example in which that could easily be done, and it's all an automation. There's multiple number of automation that you can create with, but for example, I would have this automatically will save my post to Notion. I do like to organize everything very much in Notion. This can export something to like LinkedIn summaries. If you have posts that you constantly do, you can also enrich your leads from there. So just a number of things that can be done here. And one of the auto books that I have is automatically will save my posts so I can organize them nicely in my beautiful Notion dashboard. That's where everything lives. And that's what my life runs by. So that's one way. All right. The next one that I'm going to cover is this automation. This one can also use Bardeen, but actually for the sake of demonstrating a couple more, I decided to actually use Make. Make is a very easy tool that you can use for automating anything. So what does this involve? This is another way in which, another process that, let's just say you want to generate leads in any niche, but you're on a budget, you're bootstrapping, and you're like, oh, how can I reach a lot of people? Because I don't want to pay for Apollo IO. I don't want to pay for this tool and that tool. How can I do it in a way that I can use the resources that's available to me, that's free available to me online, and then still get this somewhat automated? Okay, so what you're going to do first is you're going to identify who your target lead is, and you're going to do a Google search on that, and we're going to run that. Then execute that search. You're going to collect the data. That's going to take a little bit of manual work, or you can have that embedded into another automation. Then you're going to transfer that data again to ChatGPT, because you want to clean it up. You're going to see why. Then you can automate. This is the fun part, where you automate that outreach using Make, and on a schedule, you can have emails sent to those prospects every single day at 10 a.m. or every 3 hours. I wouldn't do it more often than that, because you really do not want to hit anybody's inbox. So you're going to have to look at this as, okay, I don't want to overwhelm anyone with a bunch of emails. How often would I send an email to a new prospect? And do that to be your measure of how often would you send those emails out. And then you're going to test, launch, and then monitor and optimize. This process just keeps going, because yes, you can have it run on auto, but every so often you're going to go back at it, and you're going to want to see, okay, how is it performing? What type of things do I need to change? Or maybe in the email, am I getting any replies back? What do I need to optimize, right? So we're going to try to do that. And for this, I run, like, for example, let's just say that your ideal customer profile lives on LinkedIn, is a business owner, and you want to do a query that looks sort of like this. I'm going to close this really quick. Don't need all of that. And this is where you would run this, where it's like, on LinkedIn, I'm looking for business owners or small SBOs, which is another, way to call yourself a small business owner. And I want to look for any emails that end in Gmail, Yahoo, Outlook, iCloud, anything that you can think of. And then you'll run that. And this information actually is available for all to see. And as you can see, it turned some research, some queries. So you can take this easily, just like a copy and paste. And I'll take that to my ChatGPT. And this is where we were talking earlier in the previous class, how you have different models do different things. The 4.0 is very great to use for most tasks. The 0.1 preview is used for advanced reasoning. Probably not going to use this model for what I'm trying to do here. And then 0.1 mini is faster at reasoning, which is great for anything that's complex task. This will do with the GP 4.0. And I'm going to drop it in there. But before I do that, actually, I already have a prompt that I'm going to copy and paste prior to that. So what I'm going to ask it to do is, all of this, mess that I send you, I want you to actually clean it up and then turn it into a table and organize it so I can download it easily. And it's going to go to work. That's Python working for you. And you can do this as many times as you need to, or you can customize this to be whatever it is, the search that you're trying to accomplish based on what you're looking for, right? So you might be looking for consultants. You might be looking like, I need to reach someone that's in this specific industry or that specific industry. So once it's done with that, you're going to see, a table of this. You can download that table. I already have one that I created for myself, and it's already here. And this is something that I know it matches my ICP. So this is Make. Make gives you the ability to actually create a lot of the scenarios free. I think you can create up to 10 free scenarios before you can even actually need to pay for it. So for this one automation, I'm using this one that I created, and it looks very simple. As you can see, it gives you quite a bit of analytics too. It tells you that it was good, it was successful, or if there's an error, it's going to tell you, and then you can go back and fix it. So what this does, it will go into the Google Sheet that I have over here, the one with the leads, this one. And before you can even do this, though, I have to take it one step back. You see this, my Google connection. Now, to connect your Google account, unless you have Google Workspaces, you will have to go into your Google Cloud console and you're going to have to give it permissions, and you're going to have to create a bit of an API. So it is simple, you can do it, but it does take like a couple of steps to get it done, to implement it. And then once you have that, it will take that spreadsheet that you gave it. I gave it the name, it knows where to go. This is the name of that. And then it's going to write an email. And same thing with your Google account. It gives you an error here, but actually it doesn't. Just the API with Gmail can be a little tricky. I know that it works, I've tested it. But then the fun part comes in crafting this prompt. I actually went all the way to use a little bit of HTML for this, because I wanted to make sure that the email that is being sent, it has a specific format. So this is where basically you would write an email like you would a cold email or a cold call to this one lead. The less words, the better. I think also knowing how to create a really well-crafted email that just comes out of nowhere, it's important to actually get some results, right? So you're going to have to work a little bit on this prompt. You're going to have to, that's where I say you're going to need to optimize this to work best for your industry, for your particular example. So then you get to schedule it. So you will be looking at this. I'm like, okay, so how often do I want this? You would save it. Do save it. I worked on this before where I forgot to save it. And now I'm running it. And lo and behold, it's already run. So I know that it's run because if I go to my send and refresh, here, it's already, I know it's sent the email. And that's the format that I wanted to. That's where HTML, a little bit of HTML helps, because otherwise it just would put all those words into like this one long sentence, and it's just like messy. So having the, a little bit of a coding, if you don't have coding, that's okay. You go to ChatGPT and you ask it, can you take this email and rewrite it in HTML code so I can copy and paste into this, right? So that's one way in which we can use this. We'll come back to Make for another example of how I'm using this particular automation only for marketing. So next one is marketing. Now, obviously, a lot of you are in industries that marketing is not necessarily what you do, but honestly, everything that we do these days is marketing. Because if you're not going to do a form of marketing, engaging with your customer profile, you're not going to get on the map, like the one challenge that we have there. You have to engage with your customers somehow. Marketing is very essential to not just drive revenue, but also connect you with that ideal customer profile, as I mentioned, because you're trying to get your product and your service in front of people. And if you're not getting it in front of the right audience through multiple channels, then you're basically you're not able to turn that interest into sales. And it takes about 7 touch points for someone to actually engage with your product, with your service, before they would even be ready to make a decision. So some ways in which you should be looking at marketing for revenue generation is in ways in which you can attract new customers, you can personalize engagement, you can increase customer retention, and you can optimize spending. That there's a lot of other tools that you can use in your marketing strategy for data analysis, predicting which channels actually give you the best return. So instead of like just throwing it at the wall and see what sticks, to actually have a strategy and just work more on that and put your budget behind that channel. So in short, marketing really is a revenue driver as long as you know how to use it so that it can create awareness. Awareness being, I exist, I provide these services, build relationships. Someone will more likely engage with you as a business if they know you and they trust you, right? So that involves building a relationship and then being able to turn the prospect into a loyal customer. So, question for you. I'm just curious, from any businesses that are run from here, or if you just work for someone else and there's some form of marketing that you get engaged, how do you attract and how do you reach your ICP or potential customer service profile? Anyone wants to shout it? How do you get to your customers these days?
Word of mouth.
Word of mouth.
We're a bank. We're old school.
That's good. I mean, we all need a bank. I suppose that's easy. But if you're a new business, if you have a service, you have a product, how do you get to your customer? How do you make sure that they're aware that you exist? Social media, okay. Any channel that works better than other channels? Yeah, it depends on your service. It depends on where your target audience is. Very true. Mm-hmm. Yep.
Business-wise, LinkedIn.
Yep. Awesome. Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing that. I know that there is a lot of channels out there, and sometimes it can be overwhelming, especially if you're a small business owner that you're like, where should I be? Where do I need to be? Sometimes you can be in all places at once if you want to be, and I'll show you how. So what I'm going to show you next is an automation that we use for one of our clients, and their struggle was, again, creating niche, personalized content for different customer segments. If you have a customer base, you should definitely have a way to segment that. So then when you create marketing materials, personalization, it's segmented based on what each one of those profiles are. So we implemented several tools, and the couple that I'm going to show you next are free because they're the ChatGPT, the Copilot, Claude, and Make, as I mentioned. So let's go back to that Make automation, and this time we're going to look at a different scenario, and it's going to be this one here. Okay. And this one looks a little bit larger and more developed because it has multiple steps, but also has multiple channels. So with one post that I basically reach LinkedIn, I reach Facebook pages, I reach Instagram and Pinterest. But here's the secret. They are all customized to that audience. Each image that gets generated is for that particular format, the resolution, you know how Instagram is 4:3, where LinkedIn is widescreen, and then Pinterest is square, and Instagram can be square or 4:3, depends on where you want to land on. So there's multiple, this will take many posts and on many different channels. So for this one, what I wanted to do is I would go to, say, Perplexity, and I love Perplexity for research. Anything that has to do with research-based, that's my go-to. I need to log into this. There you go. Okay, awesome. And what I wanted this to do is just get a list of all the latest AI news and then put it in a CSV file so I can easily import it to Google and just be my document, the spreadsheet that I basically load into this automation. So you do that easily by just doing a quick prompt, and it's going to give you, see, okay. All right, this time it's like, I don't want to give you the CSV file. I know you did give me the CSV file before. So I already have it, luckily, for this particular example. So this was just you can also go to, like, right now, if this is being a little like I don't like you, I'll try and run it in Grok and see what it does. I also have to log into Grok. Okay, let's try this again. Anyone used Grok at all? No? Okay, this is one of the fastest AI research tool. So this one is...
You're not getting content right now, you're getting information.
Yeah, you're just basically getting a list of links that you can download. This one didn't like me to download it, but it's all of this. It gives you the news and it gives you the source, which is what we want, right? And then it tells you this is what this is. You'll be downloading this. I have it here in my AI news, which basically pulls a bunch of the weekly, what's happening in AI on a weekly basis. So I have that saved there, and I will go to this automation. This is where I import this into the same Google Console integration, where now it knows to go to this AI news link spreadsheet. What do I need Perplexity for? Well, I need Perplexity API. This is where you would connect the API for Perplexity. I was gonna say something with some of those APIs. You might need to pay like $2 for the month to be able to use the API integrated in some of those automations. It will run you, like, for $2 a month, you're going to run a lot of those. So the API cost is not a lot, but you will need that as a way to be able to access some of those. So say Perplexity, what it does now is going to go into those links, and then it's going to read each one of those links. It's going to take one by one, and then it will take that link, and then it will take it to ChatGPT. And I can use anything here when it comes to an LLM. I just decided to use ChatGPT for this one, and then I use Claude for another one, and then also I'm using DALL-E to generate an actual image for that particular post. And then for LinkedIn is the only one that I kind of have to proof check, because I don't want just a lot of stuff to get on LinkedIn. I'm very much a proponent of a scheduled strategy, because the thing with LinkedIn is, and I've tested this again and again, the moment you hit LinkedIn with more than 2 posts a day, they will work against each other. Your impressions will drop, and you're just not going to reach as many people as you want to. So if you can stick to once a day, find out when the sweet spot is for your audience that engages with your content, and just go with that. Also, I want to make sure that that picture is 16 by 9, and then for Facebook pages, the same thing. But then I wanted for business to be more of a 4 by 3. So each one of those have like a number of different prompts to like generate that image, and then this one will send me an email so that I can proof check that that actually works. And then in this instance, I want to make sure that the actual image is square. If you notice here, this one was not square. This was actually widescreen. And then same with, this is where you go zoom in or not. Okay, it's like, don't be acting up on me. Okay, I can't control my mouse right now. And then you'd get, no, seriously, like, come back to me where you're smaller. I usually use a mouse, and now I don't. So this is what you get for that. Okay, so if I were to run this, and also this one, I only run once a week, like each Thursday at 6:15 a.m. I don't want a bunch of posts to be on my social, because I create posts in buckets. So like my Monday bucket, it might be different than my Tuesday bucket, totally different than my Wednesday, different than my, so if you go on my profile, you'll see that I have AI news on a Thursday, AI tips on a Tuesday, something related to wellness on a Wednesday, because it's Wellness Wednesday, and something related to just personal sharing on a Friday. So I like to live my life in buckets. And this is basically working with that strategy. So what I want the LinkedIn to look like is more like this here, right? So that's why like this was generated by one of those, and then it would send me an email first, because I really want to make sure that I can proof check it. So if we were to run this once, I'm not sure exactly which link is going to take now from that list, but you can tell that it's working, it's doing its job. And then you also give it a bit of a break. I give it a bit of a break so I don't overwhelm ChatGPT. If you give it so many instructions all at once, I usually give it about 15 seconds in between each task, so it actually has time to run the task. And it's going to take a minute before it does that, but I know it's going to land on Facebook, it's going to land on Instagram, and then it's going to land on Pinterest. And then LinkedIn won't be sent to LinkedIn until I proof check it with the email that I'm going to get. So that's one way in which, again, automation. And I know this seems like a lot and there's many steps to it, but really this is where in some of the AI workshops that I do, I go step by step, and then we can build this from zero, because it does take a bit of like finicking. Like even as you go into some of those prompts, like for example, Claude, and probably right now it's not going to let me open it because it's still running, but you can see this already happened on there, so it's committed to it. I don't know if I'm logged into my Facebook, but I know that it's probably there. Yeah, I'm not logged into my Facebook here. Let's go to Instagram. Yeah, this was that. So okay, I'm not gonna go there, but basically this is the post that it dropped from this automation. I'm not sure what it is about. I'll have to go back and look at it. to see which link. I mean, I would know which link it took from this document. It's chip startup GPTs. Yeah, so they basically started this ambitious project in Saudi Arabia to build the largest world data center. So that's what the news link is about. Okay, questions about this before I move on, because I feel like I'm moving fast. No stupid questions, like I said. Anything that needs clarification? Yes. I do have for different, for different topics. So like if this was AI news, I would have a different worksheet for AI tips, and I pull from a different resource. I think those are the two that I pull from, but like my personal post, that would be Wellness Wednesday, and personal post, that would be me writing it. And then I can still run it through something like this, where I just ask it to reformat it for a different destination, basically. But something that like doesn't really take a lot of my thought leadership, because it's really just repurposing content, I can easily run it through something like that. And I've created quite a bit of a following on that, on the idea of like AI tips and AI news that people like to go to and then see, oh, what's new in the AI news. And that's not something that I would come up with. I just lean on the information that's already available online. But again, anything that I provide thought leadership, I like to write that myself. Yeah. Okay, great question. Okay. The next thing I'm going to touch on really quick here is, it's not so much of a show how to, but more of a be mindful of. This is a step in which you really should, if you're a business, you should look at your GA4, which is your Google Analytics, and audit your content and look for any opportunities that you can use, not just for SEO optimization, but also for lead generation. During the 4-part AI for Business workshop, I go dive deep into your GA4 basically, and we look at things like, okay, what is it that we're driving? What kind of traffic we're driving? What is some data-driven understanding that we can glean from all of these numbers? And how does that help my business grow? How does that help me have a ROI on some of the blog posts, some of the content? Who is coming to my website? Where do they stop? Why do they stop there? And why do they leave, right? We have a lot of data at our hands now, but a lot of that data, if you don't do anything with it, it's not helpful. So even in the simplest of forms, you can go to your GA4, download the reports, like you can go from beginning of the year to the next of the year, and then run that through ChatGPT and ask it, make me understand what is this? Like, what should I know from this, and what makes sense, and what do I need to do with this? Because not a lot of us were born analysts. Like I wasn't, but that doesn't mean that I'm not interested in numbers and I'm not curious to know what those numbers mean and what do they do for my business, right? So that's one way in which you can use what you already have and then understand it better, so then you can optimize your content, optimize your visibility to make sure that you land on the right pages on Google. You can improve your user engagement. You can also attract the right audience. Again, just because people land on your website but they do nothing with that doesn't help you with anything. And then at the end of it is all, how do I drive more qualified leads, and how do I grow my business, right? So that's one way in which you can take a really deep look into your GA4 and see what's happening. That assuming you have a website, right? Assuming you have some data to work with. I really, really enjoy when I see, that look on people's faces and they're like, oh, I don't know what all those numbers meant, and now it makes more sense. And now I can actually do something with it. I can maybe optimize some of the search traffic. I can change the key phrases, and I can make this blog actually pop up on the Google's first page and whatnot. It really helps you to know, and you only know what you know until, if you look for it. So that's one way to do that. Another tool that I really love to actually use for visualization is called Iulius AI. And this is where you can either take that GA4 report but what Iulius AI does, it really has a lot of interactive ability to maneuver some of the data that you have, and then really see how it changes over time. It helps you with the improvement of the content ratings. I really like to see things visually because I'm a visual learner, and being able to use it for either marketing purposes or even like just to be more effective in your personalized marketing campaigns. It's a great tool to use. Like I would go and look at my, this report that I got from GA4 and ask it, can you analyze the subscriber growth rate on a monthly basis and give me this beautiful graph that I can look, right? This could be true for any spreadsheet that you work on. You have numbers that you have to present in front of your stakeholders and you want to make it look more nice. That's one way you can get it there to really have everything that it needs. I love spreadsheets in the beginning when, you can even analyze with AI in Google spreadsheets or even in Microsoft Word. But with these tools, you just take it so many steps further. Okay. I was going to show you something with Perplexity. Perplexity just came up with a new code interpreter feature, which allows users to basically install Python libraries, and that can fetch financial information and financial data and create charts directly within the platform. This is great for stocks. Like if you're a stock follower or stock markets, believer, this is a great way to go and just use a Perplexity. So I'm going to run this quickly in Perplexity to show you how to do that. And let's get this prompt here. So I'll go back to Perplexity. Now you have to use the Perplexity's Pro function. As a free account, you actually get 5 uses per day for this one function. So you're gonna have to engage that Pro over there. And then let's say we wanna look at the DAX index for the past 20 years. And let's see what it does. As you can see, it's installing some of those libraries because it really has to go back into the stock market and look for that. This is a feature that just got released last week with Perplexity. So you do have to stay on top of some of those tools because there are like so many things happening and so fast, and being able to know what's the latest. And here you go. You already got a beautiful graph. And then the next thing you can do from here is like you can ask it question to understand, okay, so what does this mean? And what can I do with this? Or fetch more information or whatever. It's like different things that even it's giving you a few different examples of related questions that you can ask it and engage with it. All right, so that's that. And then my next one, the last few minutes that we have is, earlier today, we were talking about a lot of the custom GPTs. Now, why would you care about a custom GPT if you are a business or just in general? I feel like if you have a business and you have customers and you have multiple profiles for those customers, the easiest way to manage not just product and service and communication is to create a custom GPT for each one of those profiles, because it will help you. You can train that model on that specific customer ICP and then tailor that service to just that specific client. Now imagine that you're a consultant that works with multiple clients and they all have different needs. Each one of those custom GPTs could be very much customizing services, content, helpful information to that one client. You're a social media manager, you have multiple clients. Same thing, you have a custom GPT that only helps this one particular client. I have a custom GPT that writes niche technical content for one of my clients. And that only operates within the construct of this one client in the language that they want that content to be created, on the information that they want to share, on the thought leadership that they have, and all of that has been embedded within each one of those custom GPTs. So if you're a business creating your own custom GPT, that can be very much private. Like you don't have to share your custom GPT with the world to make it public. Some of those custom GPTs are public, but there's a lot of custom GPTs that are very much private and you're the only one that has access to it. And then you can really make it specific to your unique needs, your processes, your customer profiles. As I said, you can help it so that if you train it on a data set, on a knowledge base that is, proprietary to whatever the company, then you can very much use it so that it's industry specific and the knowledge is proprietary to that. A couple of examples here that I wanted to give is, like, for example, another one where, say you're a real estate agent and you can use a custom GPT to generate personalized property showcases or property descriptions. And then that creates client outreach emails, and then also provide some market trend analysis because you have all this data that was embedded into it. Or you can be an e-commerce business and you want a custom GPT that can analyze all the past purchases that were made on your website and then offer product recommendations and then draft personalized marketing campaigns to reach your segment customer profile so that you get more business, right? Or you can be, as a consultant, if you had a custom GPT, which I was just talking to someone after the talk, and we were talking about how you can automate some of that lead generation and the research, and it also offers some type of customized advice based on that profile. I have a few of those GPTs that, like one I've created for the event production, AV production industry, and a lot of event planners actually come to this GPT and input questions such as, well, I'll have an event in this venue, in this location, how much would my AV cost run me? And because I fed it on quite a large data set, price list, and not to go into details of all of that and how much that is, it will give you a very close estimation of what you should expect so that your budget line is really close to that. So okay, so I need to allocate, 30-40% of my budget for that because I also have other expenses. The other one is a wellness GPT that very much is built for the small business owner, event professional on the go, and how can I hack my health? Because again, background, bodybuilding, super important to me. How can I optimize my health to make sure that when I'm on the run, when I do a lot of things, I can still stay at the top of my game and also perform at my best. So those are just a few examples. And what I wanted to show you actually is this podcast script that I created. This is a private GPT, and we're gonna go there because I'm a little proud of this one. So, you have your GPTs here. This is where you save. Those are the ones that I've created. So I have multiple GPTs for multiple things. You can explore the library of GPTs. So if you have certain things that you do a lot, you can find ones that are really helpful for, research, analysis, writing, all the things. But let's just say that in this one regular GPT, I'm gonna prompt it to do something that in the custom automated GPT, I would do without a problem. And I'm just gonna ask it something like this, like generate a script for Shelby. And it's gonna look at it and be like, I have no idea who Shelby is. I don't know what your purpose of this is. Like, please give me more information. This is what it goes back to that prompting where it's like a very general prompt and it's like, okay, please do help me to understand what you want. Okay, the same thing that I'm gonna take this and I'm gonna run it here this is the private custom GPT that is fully automated. And it's gonna go into a spreadsheet document that I have attached it to. And it knows who Shelby is because Shelby is one of those people that have already inputted. Okay, well, it doesn't. Let me make sure that I didn't totally misspell her name. Make sure that we get Shelby. So this is the one document it's going to go into. I'm going to put her right name. Okay, Shelby. Do not embarrass me. Please work. Okay, right? Yeah, let's make sure. Okay, it works. So what does this do? So this is a script generator for my podcast. I used to spend so many hours to generate this based on this information. So the process of this is a guest would fill up an intake form and is going to fill it out with their bio, with fun things about themselves, with places where they can be found, with what questions are they wanting me to ask them, what are the topics they want to talk about. So it's a lot of information. So in the past, I would go prompt by prompt, and I would have this, quite complicated prompt in which I would ask it to create this script, but it would still take me to go and copy and paste all of this information from the spreadsheet into ChatGPT to get this. But now I don't have to do that anymore, because it knows who the next guest is, it knows what that guest has entered, and then it will generate that automatically. Now think of a different application. What could be a different application for this? Anyone? Any guesses? You have an intake form for a client, and you collect some information. So let's say you're a consultant. So you get an idea of sort of like what you could help them with. And then you could have this GPT provide you with exactly the type of questions you should be asking them, what type of information you should give them, what type of help you might be able to assist them with, or you can even create a brand new content piece based on whatever, if you're a content writer. So many different applications, right? It's just the things that come to mind. But I'll tell you, this has saved me 59 minutes for every 60 minutes, just this one tool alone. And if that's not time saver, I don't know what is, because I can do other things with that time. And that's just one way in which we can leverage the tools that we have. The opportunities are endless. Like I said when I ended my last talk, the only limitation is our imagination. What could I be doing with these tools? How could they be helping me? How could they optimize my workflow in a way where I don't have to do some repetitive tasks and some things that I shouldn't be doing, and I'd rather not be doing, to be honest. And that's just another tool that you can implement in whatever industry, whatever specialty and or expertise you're in. And I highly encourage you to explore that, because there's a lot of power behind all of this. And these days, as I said earlier, it's no longer a matter of who is going to use AI, but how, and upskilling is not an option anymore. It just has to be part of the future. All right, and with that, for anyone that's interested, I will start this bootcamp in November. I have a registration QR code there. And if that's for you, save your spot now. If it's not for you, I'm totally okay with you connecting with me on LinkedIn, because I do share a lot of AI tips and AI news on there as well. And now I'm ready for questions. I can't believe that I'm actually on time. Right, questions.
I have a quick question for you.
Yeah.
In terms of the GPT, I can go into any general segment of what I need.
Yeah, so one thing I was going to say, like some of those GPTs, right? Like even within this one, that is the general GPT. If you have the Pro, you can customize your GPT to specifically do certain things. Like I give it custom instructions. First off, I tell it who I am, what I'm looking for, what do I want to be addressed as, how do I want it to talk, and also I wanted to like not use certain phrases and words like robots use. Like all of that can be embedded in this instruction manual. And this is a great way to even the simplest GPT that you have that can be used to sort of customize it. The next level up, like for example, this one here, this already has a different type of instructions, because this has been created, right? So when you go through this creation step-by-step workflow, it's going to help you. Like if you have an idea of a GPT, you're not going to start from blank. Actually, it really helps you step by step to think about it and what do you want it to do, and then you would configure it. And even here, you know, I have given it instructions. You can even generate a picture for you. You can have conversation starters, and then there's the knowledge database. So actually, I uploaded a lot of knowledge database, and this can come from PDF, from documents, from whatever, so that it has a base of knowledge that it operates from, right? So this is where it's important to make the distinction between, is this an open GPT that anyone can access? Because like if you go right now on the marketplace, as they call it, the Explore GPTs, a few of those are available for anyone to use. Now, that's okay for me because that's information that I share that is not proprietary to anyone or anything. If I were a business that really has proprietary information, I would probably look at that to be a private GPT. Like with the podcast script GPT, that is private. I don't want anyone to access my guest information, their preferences, their fun facts, and none of that. So that's why it's important to make the distinction and then just go from there. I actually have a free workshop on YouTube where I go through the whole process of creating a brand new GPT. I think it was a live stream on LinkedIn, and we had a lot of people joining us. I had a co-host because I just wanted to make it more interactive. And we just open it up for someone. Okay, so what GPT should we create right now? So we just took, from the chat, whoever like had an idea, and we just worked through the process of creating this GPT that we end up deleting afterwards. But it was just like that. This is how you do that, to get it. I was going to test a little bit this reasoning to see, the difference between, like, for example, I'm just going to take some very basic prompt to see what it does. And obviously, this is where it's going to want you to, import some of this data. Like you can attach a file, you can upload, some type of a spreadsheet or whatever. I don't even know if I have a spreadsheet here. I'm sure I do, and some of the other stuff. But you'd upload it, and then it can read that for you. But now, like, for example, if I did that, and that's probably not the best prompt, but if I run it through this other one, the O1 preview, let's see what it does. First off, it's probably going to think about it. Yeah. It's going to be like, you're crazy. You don't give me anything to do. Like, give me something to work with. Right. It's like, okay, I thought about this for 11 seconds. And this is where I mentioned earlier that if you want to see its thought process, then you can open that up and you can see what it's been doing, right? And then it was like, okay, it took me 11 seconds to realize that you didn't upload anything. Maybe you should. And give me some type of, like, the prompt goes back to that prompt. Like, don't just use like a, zero shot prompting, trying to get something, because it's most likely not going to work. So give me something better. Give me another prompt. Someone, give me a prompt. Like something philosophical. Let's run a philosophical question through this.
How sustainable? Yeah.
How sustainable? Okay. Okay. Clarifying the question. Considering AI sustainability. Okay. So for 7 seconds. Okay. So it's going to give you like, environmental impacts, economic sustainability, social and ethical considerations, some of the governance, long-term viability, positive contributions, and then a conclusion. And then here, if you open it up, it's going to tell you what exactly, what it was thinking through, So there's actually websites, I forgot exactly which one they were, but there's a lot of very interesting questions to test its ability to reason. And then you can just run those prompts to make sure that the reasoning is accurate and it doesn't hallucinate. And then once you run a few of those, then you would ask it a very deep question, something that that it takes some reasoning, and then try to test that against and see, okay, I see that you're actually thinking correctly now. Now let's get to work now, So, all right, any other question? Yes.
By stock, it's an AI company. What are some names of leaders in the industry?
I'm sorry, come again.
Leaders in the AI industry.
Tools or AI companies that lead the industry?
Like the companies that lead the industry.
right now with all the changes that are happening, I mean, obviously we have the big players, right? The OpenAI, we have Google that is doing a lot of work. Apple is doing a lot of Microsoft. I mean, they're all going at it like full force. NVIDIA has been, their stock has been going through the roof just because they knew this is prime time to invest in that. And they actually, the reason why their stock has gone up so much is because they own most of the data center where most of those AI companies are storing the information. So they capitalize on that big time and got them, you know, really far. So there's, again, going back to the AI news, I like to follow, there's one source that I like to engage with. It's called Round Down AI, and it gives you unbiased like landscape of everything that's happening in the world. Because again, AI, based on who you ask, can also be very biased, right? So if you want an unbiased source to see what is happening in China, China is going crazy at it right now with AI. What is happening in US? What is happening in Europe? Because Europe also, they have different type of regulations, and then they look at AI different type of governance, right? There's a lot to follow, and I would find a source that seems to be the least unbiased, so you can, you know, follow it, because depends who you ask. They have their own agendas, right? Yeah. Okay, any other question? Any practical questions? Anything? I know that it wasn't practical, but you know what I mean.
Just a general
Yeah.
question, because just using the free, I can only use Copilot.
Okay,
now.
yeah, for Microsoft.
Yeah, what are some general, I guess, prompts to get it to sound like me? What do I tell
That
it?
was lesson number 1. That was earlier.
I know, but I can't customize it.
Yeah.
I don't have the pro version.
You don't have the pro version?
I say what I want and then make it sound.
So here's the thing, with each interaction, it does learn your, you know, your way of writing, because that's what those are like, because they are very much autonomous. They will interact with each, they will learn with each interaction. However, it might take more prompting on your end to get what you want, and that might be on a prompt by prompt basis, because if you can give it that memory history that, like, for example, ChatGPT, that's why I like the tool, ChatGPT in general, not because I care about OpenAI, but as much as I care to not have to repeat myself again and again. So then you might just need, for you, like what I would do, I would create a list of prompts, like somewhere where you can easily copy and paste, like save it in a Google Doc, save it on the desktop, in a document, whatever. And then you know that, like, instead of like constantly have to rewrite your prompt to get some kind of an output, just copy and paste that, and then you get whatever, where you need to go. Yeah. Yeah, I in the beginning, before there were so many prompting like Chrome extensions out there, that's how I used to run my prompting. I would have a list of prompts, and actually I had a list of, oh my gosh, like over 200 prompts, and I think I still have it somewhere in Notion. Let's see if I still have. Yeah, I had this list of prompt tutorials that, like, for cold DMs, like a gazillion of prompts. If I wanted something for hacking, like frameworks, growth hacking frameworks, I had that. If I wanted something for like marketing models, like I would have, you know, like everything to make it easier for me to just copy and paste versus having to like rethink the whole framework. And I would just like go to this list and be like, okay, here we go, education. Then I would even have like miscellaneous. This is where you act as an English pronunciation helper. You can tell who needs that. And then that'll be me. You know, plagiarism checker. This is another great one, especially if you're doing a bunch of research and you really want to have the source, you know. And I was giving this for free after, I think it was one of my other talks, where I think you can access it now on my website. But like if you book the 15-minute consultation, I would totally give this out. If you're interested, just reach out to me on LinkedIn and I'll send you the list. Honestly, I no longer have the time to take those 15 minutes, you know, meetings. But if you want that, just send me a message on LinkedIn and I'll send you that link. It's available publicly on one of my Notion pages. Yeah. Yeah. Any other question? Was this hard? Was it a lot? Did you grasp something? Did it give you some ideas? Can you see you maybe use some of those automations to maybe implement, and maybe even like content creation or something easy that you don't have to do, because it does take a lot of time. I hope you can take it home and start playing with that. Like I would go to create an account and just play with it a little bit. And I promise you don't have to be a IT major, computer programmer to start using it. So give it a try, okay? All right.